So we're talking about today this trail wrist, and when it comes to the delivery position, how this trail wrist and trail arm unload too early, and when they do that, they push that club head further away from the ball. Lots of us dream of hitting sexy golf shots straight down the middle with crispy divots after the golf ball. And some of us will have really good looking swings, but have outcomes and results that we're really not happy with. Today, I want to share with you exactly why that happens. And it all happens because of this trail wrist, and how this trail wrist works too hard, the wrong way, pre-contact, that causes shank shots and slice shots and kind of wipey shots and weak shots. So today we're going to get rid of those and give you those dreamy shots that we all love to hit. So we're talking about today this trail wrist, and when it comes to the delivery position, how this trail wrist and trail arm unload too early, and when they do that, they push that club head further away from the ball. If I take my address position to this ball here now, and I'll move this secondary ball into position just behind the ball and to the right of the ball as regards to the ball to target line. What I'm talking about really is in this downswing, how this trail wrist and trail arm will straighten and unload too quickly, and then we will make contact with that ball and present the heel of the club to the ball we're trying to hit. So essentially, the club ends up doing this through the golf ball. So we end up getting the path that would be out to in, cutting across the golf ball. In terms of our levers, the levers are completely unloaded before we get to the ball. So we've wasted all our maximum potential speed and also the delivery position of that dynamic loft before we get to the ball. Obviously, what we want with this trail wrist is this trail wrist still to have somewhat extension, as we call it, all the way into this hitting zone, all the way through impact, and then it would lose this extension post-impact somewhere around about here. The trail arm, trail wrist are both guilty of what's going on. So we need to give you some ways of feeling and understanding how we can square the club up without using our trail wrist so much and our trail arm so much. Sometimes there is obviously a cause to why we're doing this. So it can be caused by the club face being wide open on the way down. So in a position like this as we come down, it can be caused by a plane that's moving out and over, and then the right arm, right wrist work hard to try and square the club face up. Today we're really going to focus hard on trying to just understand how we should square the club up better with better right arm, right wrist mechanics. For me, the best way of feeling this is if you take a split grip, so one hand at the top, one hand at the bottom, go to the top of your backswing, work it down into that delivery position, and then from here I want you to try and feel and discover how you would square that club up, how we hit a straight shot from here. Now if I add body rotation, you'll see here that my body now is facing left of where I want to go, but that club face is really wide open. So how we square the club face up then is adding lead arm, supination, lead arm, lead wrist, rotation, and the trail wrist is also going to rotate, and you'll see now how that club face is square. So if I put myself into this position here now, where the ball would be, relevantly, you'll see I'd have loads of shaft lean, the body would be way open, and I'd have a really strong dynamic loft. So it would kind of look like that. Those dynamics into impact would be the holy grail. Having some trail arm bend, having the trail wrist rotated back, and having the arms rotating to square the club face up is the magic moves. If we can do that, then you don't need my help. So if you can do that consistently, you will hit piercing, long, pure, crispy divots, great golf shots. And that's what we want to do. So for me, the first thing you would do is do quite a few reps where you practice that. And you could do this in the house. So just feeling, okay, how does that feel? My trail arm isn't unloading, you'll see there. And the trail wrist unloading to square the club up. The trail arm is straightening, let's be honest about it, but it's not an unload. It's not a super straight, super early. It's a gradual straightening, but it should always be bent till about this position. So we never want the trail arm to be straight or the trail wrist to be flat until we're in this inline condition position after the golf ball. The kind of pointing the club at the ground post impact. If we had a clock face here, if this was 12, this was 6, it's going to be somewhere around about that kind of 4 o'clock. And in our head, if we almost thought it was even 3 o'clock, that would be even better. So that's the positions we want to feel. Now, some of you may struggle to hit the ground correctly when you feel your trail arm and trail wrist are more bent, as we're talking about today. So quite often, as the body goes up, the trail arm will stretch out to make contact with the ball. Our human GPS makes us make contact through any means possible. So we might have to feel through a few shots that we get a little bit more tilted. But again, in terms of what's the best mechanics, to be tilted and rotated with the arm bent and the wrist bent back is the perfect thing. So that's what we want to do. In terms of an effect and an outcome, we want to put a golf ball there or a head cover there just as a little bit of a warning sign if we are using our right wrist too much. So you can't even start your session with your head cover just here. And if I take the club head back in a straight line, it wants to be just outside where that club would go in a straight line. We obviously want to be delivering the club on a slightly more inside position, but we also want to make sure we can take the club back correctly too. And if we are losing the right wrist, we will hit the object here. The higher the object, the more chance we'll hit it. So that will show you if this is the fault you have. So practice swings, as I said, work it up, work it down, rotate the arm. That's the release pattern we want. Then we're going to try and hit a golf ball feeling we do exactly the same. You can't really do this too much. Again, if you hang on to the arm and wrist too much but don't rotate, you will hit block shots, but pretty solid shots. If you rotate plenty and the wrist is working like we want it to, then you can hit pretty straight shots, you know, slight draws, things like that. So it's going to be very solid. Again, don't be scared to overdo the really good dynamic movements in the swing. And then when we go to the golf course, let's just make a nice rehearsal and hit a ball as normal. So make sure you don't dump your trail wrist and trail arm if you want to hit really good golf shots.